So when doing an exercise program, there are two important things. There is the exercise selection, so the exercises you use, as well as the dosage and how that dose is structured day by day, week by week, however you want to structure it. Okay? As long as it has a structure, you are bound to see improvements, as well as if the structure is, if it holds true. So, digressing back to exercise selection. We've got exercise selection. Now, there are two types of exercises that I would personally use. There are compound lifts, which are big and simple movements. We've got the squats, deadlifts, overhead press, bench press, pull-ups, and bent over rows. You'll notice that next to each of these exercises, I've got little brackets. So both squats and deadlifts, they involve the ankles, knees, and hips. So because they both involve the same joints, I only typically just use squats. And in particular, I personally use front squats. I don't do deadlifts. Now, depending on how much time you have, time is a valuable resource. You might not opt for all 6 of these movements, 2, 4, 6. You might only have enough time for 5, maybe 4, perhaps 3. Okay? How much time you need to complete an exercise session depends on what you're doing in it and how many sets and reps you're doing. We'll go into that in a second. All right, so you can either pick one or both of these. These are both pushing exercises, so they involve the arms and they're pushing either up or in front of you. These are pulling exercises where you pull from above or from in front of you. All right, and then we've got regressions. Okay, so these are exercises that would that will progress into these. So the easier version of these are simple and isolated movements. So we've got the leg press and the knee extension, the hamstring curl for deadlifts because that works the posterior chain being the back of your leg. We've got overhead press machine, the chest press machine. I forgot to put these. We've got the lat pull down and the seated row. Okay. Now, once you've selected whatever exercises you want to use, we can move on to the dosage. But before we can move on to dosage, there are some terms we need to know. So there are terms here on this page. I will zoom out. You can pause and then read each of them one by one. I will go through them anyways. So reps, very straightforward, the repetitions of movement. Okay, a rep max, also known as the RM. It's the maximum number of reps you can perform with a given resistance. It's also a measure of intensity. So for example, if I say we're gonna do 5 reps at 5 RM, that means we're gonna do 5 reps with a resistance or at an intensity that will only give us 5 reps because we can only do 5 reps with that. Okay? A 1 rep max is also a form of a test to measure strength. So any rep max for any rep range, okay, that is essentially a test of strength or endurance, depending on how many reps we're doing. For example, comparing the 1 rep max to the 10 rep max, the 10 rep max will have a lighter resistance and will have significantly more reps, 9 more to be exact, versus 1 rep, which requires a lot of resistance to be able to only squeeze out 1 rep and not have enough energy for more. This concept is also known as reps in reserve. Now, just as I said again, I'm going to reiterate. Reps in reserve, also known as RIR, okay, so you'll see this a lot. The number of reps you feel you can do after your last rep. Okay, so if I were to say, let's do 5 reps at 5 rep max, that means let's do 5 reps, and after 5 reps, you shouldn't be able to do any more reps after that. So you should be completely depleted. That's how you know you have 0 as your reps in reserve. If you do 5 reps at your 5 rep max and you suddenly feel that you can do 1 or 2 more, then that means you have 1 to 2 reps in reserve. That would suggest you need to add a little bit more weight so that we get close to that 0 mark. Okay, and that way it's a true rep maximum. Okay, so we have a few examples, kind of like what I just said. If you want to pause and read through that, go through it. You'll also notice as you do the as you do sets of exercises, that fatigue will reduce your reps in reserve, okay? So that means if I do one set, if I do my first round of 5 rep max and I have 1 to 2 reps in reserve, and I don't change the weight, by my second or third set, that reps in reserve would slowly go down and down to almost be 0. And that is normal. You might want to reduce the amount of weight as you get fatigued so that you are able to complete the reps prescribed. Now, apart from that, I've already mentioned sets, but I didn't go into what they are. So sets are the number of times you repeat the number of reps prescribed. So another word for set is rounds. So you might have one set or one round of an exercise for however many reps I give. You might have two sets. You might have 3, 4, 5, 6. However, I personally don't go beyond 3 unless we're looking to develop hypertrophy, which is something else. Now that we've gone through the terms, we're going through the weekly dose and progression. So I'm gonna keep that there. You can pause it and take a screenshot if you want. You will notice that this is a 12-week long program, okay? And you can use this pattern over and over again. So after these 12 weeks, you can start again at week 1. Go through that throughout the whole year if you want to. You don't really have to change much. I basically did everything for you, okay? I do 4-week structures, 4-week blocks. So every 4 weeks is 1 block. So this is a 3-block program, okay? You'll notice that on the 4th week of every block, so week 4, week 8, and week 12, we are doing a little bit less than the previous week. And that is to allow your body to recover and adapt so that when you start the next block, you are able to, or you should be able to, add a little bit more weight to get the intensity desired, all right? For example, 12 reps. So here this column shows reps at the rep maximum, so at the RM. And as a note, all rep max have 0 to 1 reps in reserve, okay? I say 0 to 1 because if you have 1, by the next set, it might become 0, all right? If you have consistent 1s after every set, you might want to add a little bit more weight, okay? So we got weeks, reps at the rep maximum, the sets per session, and this is assuming you're going 2 to 3 times a week, and the rest between sets, okay? So on the first week, we're doing 12 reps at the 12 rep maximum intensity. So that means whatever exercise you're doing doesn't have to be any of the ones suggested here in my exercise selection slide, okay? It could be your own exercise. Whatever you're doing, you need to have enough variables to manipulate so that the resistance, or by the time you do the 12 rep, you are not able to complete a 13th rep, okay? You're then gonna rest for 30 to 45 seconds, and you're gonna do that 2 more times because that was the first set, okay? If by the end of 45 seconds, you feel like you can't even complete 12, then you might have to reduce the resistance used so that you're able to complete 12, okay? Week 2, you're progressing by 2 reps, and we're increasing the rep maximum, so that means you're gonna have to add a little bit more weight or resistance so that this holds true, okay? And likewise, for the next week, when we progress from 10 reps to 8 reps at that rep max, we need to add a little bit more resistance so that we can only do 8 reps. Week 4, however, we're going to do 4 reps, so we're going to half the volume, but we're going to keep the intensity as it is, okay? This is a method of deloading, okay? So that means all your strength gains are there because you're working at the same intensity as the week before. However, the break is in the fact that you do less reps, okay? We're still doing it for 3 sets, and the rest may or may not stay the same. So over here you can see how it changes from 30 to 45, 45 to 60, 60 to 90 seconds, and 60 to 90 seconds again, right? This then goes and flows into the next block. So week 5, 8 reps, just like we did in week 3, at the 8 rep max, just like the previous week. However, you might find now that you are able to add a bit more resistance to find your new 8 rep max. And then from there we continue to 6 reps at the 6 rep max, 4 reps at the 4 rep max, and 2 reps at the 4 rep max again. And again, this is another deload week, so you'll be doing less volume, keeping the same intensity, okay? Your muscles will be saying, oh, this is the same intensity, but we're doing less than normal, which is a good break for us, okay? They don't lose out on any of the gains you might have had. Week 10, week 9, continuing on from there. So same intensity, but more reps, which is the same as week 7. You might find that you are able to add more resistance on this week compared to week 7, all right? Week 10, 2 reps at 2 rep max. Week 11, week 1 at 1 rep max. And this is a little bit confusing here. Week 12, which is your deload week, 1 rep, because we can't go lower than 1 rep, at 1 rep max. However, the sets are different. You can either do 2 or 1. And if you do 2, the rest is 4 to 5 minutes. If you do 1, you're free to go home. Okay? And the higher the intensity, the more effort you're going to require to perform those movements. And that's why the rest, you'll notice that they increase by minutes. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, please just send me any questions you might have my way. Yeah.